I'm gonna hit the button.
All right, it's we're live, right?
Yes, we are.
I really should open the console one of these days and just be able to see that myself.
Well, it's funny too because the little YouTube dialogue, it's never quite accurate.
I
So
know.
I think we're always live, before I can, for a couple seconds before I can confidently
Yeah, while we're
say. So,
just staring at the camera with empty
Mhm.
expressions on our faces. I'm Doug
Well,
Splinter.
hey, I'm Todd. It's good to see
It's
everybody.
good to
How
see
are you?
everyone. Welcome to a skip week Flash Friday. We were off last week mostly because Todd and I have lives, and occasionally we just can't summon it up. You know what
We
I mean?
we were going to record it like 10 at night the night before, and it just kind of
It just didn't
fell
happen.
apart.
Todd's like, want to go at 9 at like 10 o'clock. I ping him, you still want to record? He's like, a little late, man. So the 11 o'clock,
I may have had a drink or something. I don't know.
family's trying to go to bed. Yeah. I pinged Greg Kostick the other night about it, and he got a new custom recipe for old fashions. You don't need anything significantly technical, do you? Because I'm in cocktail hour mode. I was like, no, it's just saying hi and catching up with people.
Nice.
But the we should do maybe a cocktail hour Office Flash Friday sometime. That would be a different kind of vibe. We recorded late. We've even had like dozens of people join us when we started at 11 o'clock one night, which we were just like, well,
You know what? I love that idea. Like some kind of like round table, just talking and
that'd be kind of
BSing.
fun. We could probably do a quick mashup and just take like live questions and just solution stuff with people. All right, that's not
Oh
what
my
we're here
gosh, that'd
for
be fun.
today. That'd be fun though, like stump the
Yeah.
architecture team. All right, well, so if you're just tuning in fresh, like we're what's new in Microsoft 365. Todd takes the data and automation side, and I tend to take the security and collaboration side, and we mash it all up.
Yeah.
So, what do you got this week? General topics.
A little humble brag to open on Power BI, some Power BI stuff, and some more Power Platform.
Humble brag. Is that dot way up there in the right hand corner?
Yeah, that might be us.
Maybe not so humble. Okay, so it's okay. I used to work for a law firm where the partner was a little old school who ran the place, but he had in the lobby of everything they had the quote from Dizzy Dean: "It ain't bragging if you done it," and they had all
That's
their
right.
victories and their cases and stuff. And his point was like, let's let the work speak for itself. Right. So,
Yep.
and these are, I always thought these analyst things are lagging indicators, even though they try and predict,
Sure they
like
are.
and they're saying this is, I know they try and talk about strategic direction. And if you believe in their principles, you have to peel these back and see, do you agree with the strategic imperatives against which
Right.
they are ranking? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And I think a lot of people just look at the board and they don't read the principles behind it. And those are very important if you're going to look at analyst content. So
Absolutely.
I never get too high or too low where an analyst puts something that I
Same here. To
love.
me, this is just a signal. It's just a thing. It's not.
It's not a bad thing.
It's really like, are my customers getting value out of the platform? That's
Well,
really what I
apparently
care
we're
about.
appealing into this. I have just a few things. I've got some funky audio codec stuff where we're going with Silk and
Ah,
the intelligent AI, the impact of AI on low bandwidth audio
I
codecs.
love this stuff.
Yeah, that stuff's
Love
nerdy.
it.
It comes from my old voice background, which
Yeah.
I adore. Some stuff about Office long-term servicing to do, some other things.
Ooh,
So kind of a hodgepodge of things for me this week. So you're up first
sweet.
though. So let's hit that
Well, so I won't. We won't
Gartner.
dwell on this one too long. Like I said, this is just a signal. It's great to see people are sharing it all over this week. I really do feel like I think in the past, I'll be honest. We've been in this quadrant like Arun calls out for 14 years. That's insane. Okay, and if you go back 8 years, right? We had a good solution for on-prem and whatnot. But when I really look at this, I feel like this is super deserved. I feel like can say with all confidence
We've
that
talked
that we
about
should
this.
be.
The maturity of this thing has been, from its first start, and then they sort of restarted it and said, "Look, we just need to. No, we now understand the market better, and we're going to kind of do a 2.0 of this thing." And the iterative hockey stick on this thing has been crazy.
And there's something I'm going to talk about here in a minute around security where I feel like we have a story that cannot be understated and that really nobody can touch. And we'll talk about that in a minute around security. So anyway, Magic Quadrant, here's where we are. Read it, judge for yourself. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about last week, but we as Doug mentioned, we didn't record, is bringing of the Power BI Gen 2 Premium, which we've been talking about for a few months now, bringing that to Azure, right? So as you know, Power BI Premium, or maybe you don't know, and maybe this would be a nice surprise for you to learn today. You can essentially spin up on-demand Power BI Premium in Azure. these are called our A SKUs. Basically, we're calling it Power BI Embedded, right? And that's been in Azure for some time. And it basically acts just like a premium capacity. And basically what we're saying here is we're now bringing the Gen 2 of premium to the A SKUs in Azure. So you now have the ability in preview to go spin those up, and it goes through the things, right, that we're already, been touting around Gen 2 of premium around, less limitations on memory, greater scale, better performance, improved metrics, right? All the things. So when I talk to customers around testing, load testing, and kind of getting their hands on premium, I always kind of like point out to them like, hey, you can go over to Azure and spin up these embedded capacities, which are billed by the minute, right? That you can pause and restart and delete and whatever. So really, really flexible, really easy way to kind of get your hands on it. So if you want to get your hands on Gen 2, but you're not willing to upgrade your premium capacity Gen 2 yet, which it's in preview, so I'm right there with you. This is a great way to get your hands on it.
Okay, so awesome way to kick the tires on it now, or to have an elastic capacity framework as it goes into production.
That's right. All right.
I can roll with
that. I'm glad you can, because it's good stuff. I love this. Anytime I see a post by Kai, I get excited, because Kai is like super, in the best way. He's got all the best nerdy stuff, right? Related to security, related to things in the weeds, related to SDKs and things like that. So basically what we're announcing here is .NET Core support for the analysis services libraries. They've gone GA. So what does that mean? It means I've seen I do a lot of applications work with customers as well, not just on the data side. And the adoption of .NET Core over the last 3, 4, 5 years has been insane. So being able to go in and talk to SQL analysis services on-prem, Azure analysis services, and of course Azure, and now Power BI Premium with the XMLA endpoint through these .NET Core libraries, it's all good. So this is really good stuff. If you have .NET code that you have written or want to write in .NET Core, you can now go forth and use these NuGet packages to move forward with your automation. So really, really happy to see this. Okay, what's next? So this is what I was kind of referring to. There's quite a bit. This is a meaty post. So if you want to kind of reset yourself on the state of the art in Power BI security, this is a great resource to start with. Bookmark this blog post and link out to the resources in here, including the new Power BI security white paper, which we've had one of those for a while. It talks about the architecture of the service, how we do encryption, where data goes and doesn't go. And we've updated that Power BI security white paper. So that's thing number one.
It's on my weekend reading list, but did Purview get in there? Is that framework part of it?
I'm going to talk about Purview here in a second.
All right, awesome.
So
I was super hopeful, because I'm like, this is right now, it's like we got the Legos on the table, right? And I'm wondering, do we have some suggested toys to build, or are we providing some, because right now, sometimes it's without some representative reference architectures and examples, it's hard to get going. And I felt like we had a great component story with some of these newer pieces, but we hadn't refreshed our compass north. And so I'm hoping that's that. And it seems like it is.
Well, actually, you're bringing up the thing that I referenced at the beginning of the show, where I feel like we just have this amazing competitive advantage and value proposition for our customers, which is really, I'll just say it, it's the end-to-end, not only security with Azure Active Directory for authentication, authorization, and audit and all of those things, but also the end-to-end sensitivity labels and tagging of data from your stuff in Office 365, Microsoft 365.
For sure.
Now those labels going into Purview and tagging data in SQL.
You and I have been on this journey for so long, right?
Say again?
We've been on this journey for so long. We were there in the very beginning of unified labeling and the initial classification engines when we acquired the Azure Information Protection estate and started to weave it in. And you and I said, someday this is going to be this comprehensive thing with consistent retention and labeling and classification and policies, and you'll be able to exert control over these things. And it kept just pushing out into the partner ecosystems and into the estates that it covers. And this sort of structured data estate has been one of those things. Oddly enough, we were almost way better at applying structured taxonomy, security, and governance control to unstructured data than we were to structured data.
Not almost, but definitely better.
Yeah, right. Definitely better.
So this has been a dream of, you're right. I remember having these conversations with you 3-4 years ago.
On this show,
right?
like hundreds of episodes ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's been so to see it coming, and actually, frankly, coming rather quickly, I've had so much pent up demand for something like Purview and this sensitivity label integration. I've had this pent up demand for a couple years now, and now seeing it come out when we announced Purview back late last year, and seeing what I'm used to, these very rapid iterations, I'm just so excited about where it's going.
Yeah, and you know, like if you think about then the ability to integrate this into a single operational canvas through like Azure Log Analytics and everything else, and Sentinel from a security workflow state with a unified through this, through the security API for unified security workflows that can go from security teams to business users and back, orchestrated through Office 365 as a flexible decision canvas for security. That's the largest integrated tool set on the planet.
I'm going to unscrew my mic and just drop it on the ground.
Fully secured, fully integrated. And are there gaps in the story? Yes. They're not that many of them, and where it is, there's partner ecosystems to sock it in and fill those. We never said we're going to be the everything, but we should sock it into those frameworks. And the reason the damn show logo looks like it is because we always said there's a GUI, an API, and a power something for that, right? And we just continue to see that it's a mind the gap moment, and I just love where this is going. Just love it. All right, sorry.
So no worries. I loved your excitement there. It got me kind of pumped up.
Security can be amazing because it's an enabler. I always say it's a give-get. Like you give me,
it is.
You give me a little bit of labeling, right? And what you get is relevancy, proper information governance and control, the right information at the right time, the right apps, the right content at the right time. I always think it's a give-get.
The permission, I mean, this was when we talked about like mobility, right? When we used that term like years ago, that was really, security was the enabler of that, right?
Yeah.
And there wasn't a good UX, and we're kind of getting there. So, all right. So, a couple things to talk about here: service tags. So instead of trying to get your arms around which IP addresses Power BI is, we're enabling the Power BI service tag so that you kind of abstract that away, and we manage those IPs when we're doing firewall rules and things like that.
Roger that.
And setting up private link for Power BI as well. And then here's this next one, VNets, which is coming. The preview is coming. So this is not tomorrow kind of thing, but the preview is coming soon. But this is essentially, Doug, for a lot of people, maybe the end of having to manage these gateways.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And look on the next paragraph, which is something we covered previously, but let's bring that together in this whole security story you're telling, right? The support for BYOK.
Yep.
Now you could argue that yes, you're still transitioning to key dust, so key custodianship is still, we have a copy of the key, otherwise we can't do the compute operations. But that's not what a lot of people's regulatory requirement or their compliance requirement is. Their compliance requirement is to use an attestation fabric for the keys, where maybe Microsoft's attestation fabric isn't certified for that customer's use case, but one of these other ones thought or somebody else is, right? So you can then bring your own key, even though you're giving a copy, you have revocation rights. Right, the key chain is owned by you as opposed to Microsoft as a custodian, and that can be a huge deal breaker for people on the compliancy, because they may have said this is the CA that can do key attestation for encrypting my data, and then we come along at Microsoft and we say, well, you can use our keys. Well, that I don't have that one approved. Like I would have to go through this crazy massive. I may have had that key approval process and revocation thing with my key management approved by like my contract partners. Like that can be very sophisticated from a business relationship standpoint. So that one little line in there with all these other elements is incredibly important for people's ability to meet like business, technical, security, and compliance requirements, all wrapped together.
Absolutely. Totally. 100%.
I love it. I just love how this story is finishing out. I'm super happy with it. The security architect in me is very pleased.
So. I know it is. And I'm just so happy you're happy. So again, sensitivity labels in the Power BI service, that's kind of been there for a little bit. Preview of the support for sensitivity labels in Power BI desktop. I think we talked about this on a previous thing as well. So that's there. You can see this one's labeled as highly confidential. And then here we have the Purview integration as well. So you kind of asked about this a few minutes ago. All integrated through here. So and I just love this. This little demo right here that this GIF is showing it just kind of tells you everything you need to know for how MCAS integrates with Power BI. Someone trying to export the data out, going
exactly
through
what we've
MCAS.
been talking about.
What's that?
That's exactly what we've been talking about. The
That's
entire
right.
state secured by a unified policy engine from an accessibility, from an access, from a data control and labeling standpoint, from a data loss prevention standpoint. It's not perfect,
Yes,
but it keeps getting better. And it
absolutely.
covers certainly more and all the major ones, and there's ways to approach and govern all the rest of them, in my opinion. So
So I would definitely check out the Power BI security white paper and see if you get as geeky excited as Doug.
it's unlikely because
So
this is my world, but look, when a
so
security person turns from Eeyore to Piglet, that's a moment you should pay attention to, right? So
wow,
right.
that's a good.
The
I've
kind of
not
the
heard that
or
one
maybe
yet.
Eeyore to Tigger would be a better analogy, right? So
Yeah, okay, there we
that's
go.
probably the
The
better
piglet's
analogy.
he's kind of like he's
Well,
kind of a little
he's
neurotic,
excitedly,
right?
but he's still nervous. Maybe that is an appropriate transition, right? I'm still a little
But maybe
nervous.
it's good to be nervous as a security architect.
That's
Maybe that's the lesson.
yeah, somewhere in between there. All right, keep going.
We're way over analyzing Winnie the Pooh here. All right. So this is the Power Apps 2021 Wave 1 preview release now available. That's a lot of words, but what that
Ooh.
means is new things coming. So modern search. This is really cool in the portal where you can actually kind of go and using the top search bar, search through your business data and actually act upon it. You can see here someone searching for a contact and being able to assign something to that person or share. That's really cool. I thought this one was great too because we're all kind of really used to now this like swiping, especially in Outlook and being able to run actions on list items based on swiping left or right. So that's added into here as well. So go ahead and take a look at that. A new update for a Power Automate desktop. I think this one is great. The run from here. So basically being able to start like from a list of actions, being able
Now,
to start from here.
can I just unpack this one for a moment, just so people are
Yeah.
not confused? This is what used to be the UI flows, which is now Power Automate Desktop.
Yes, correct.
So when we
Yep.
talk about all those like client-side app automation flows, that's now Power Automate Desktop.
You've got it. Yep, the thing that you install on your desktop.
And then it does screen scraping and app automation and turns a old school Fox Pro app, hopefully you don't have any of those, into an API surface you can use.
Did I tell you about the engagement I did with a customer to automate some of their Fox Pro code with this?
No, but I'm not
I
surprised.
literally did such a thing.
Did you do Fox Pro? Yeah, I'm not
I
surprised.
did.
I'm
With
not
this.
surprised. Like I
Yes.
ran into some a really killer Visual Basic application about before I transitioned into my new gig, maybe a couple months before, where customers showed me and they're like, we still just have this because it's amazing. It was business line functional. It was perfect, right? It was like
Yeah.
it was a great business line app. And they're like, we just don't see a reason to retool it.
It was the exact same scenario in my case, and
But Fox Pro has a support horizon challenge around it.
yeah. But I mean, to me, it was just like I don't care if it's Fox Pro or whatever. It's a Windows app, and I need to click some buttons on it and do some things.
Yeah.
So let's rock and roll. It was actually probably the first time in my career that I've seen Fox Pro, and this was just a few months ago.
You're aging me. I used to build in that. All right, keep going.
Nice.
Proceed.
No worries. What is this one? Oh, various actions have been improved to configure more intuitively. So doing things like if it's a send keys action, right? So being able to actually pick which special keys you're referring to. This is just like a quality of life thing here as well. So once again, I think with the past few months with Power Automate Desktop, there's been a lot of improvements in just quality of life, performance, things like that. The tool is maturing rapidly as it has GA'd at this point. So go check out the update to Power Automate Desktop as well. So
Nice.
Doug, that's all I had this week.
Awesome. Well,
What do you
mine's, I don't know, maybe a little less substantive, but interesting,
Okay.
I think. Yeah, that was a pretty, I'm still thinking about that security stuff. Like,
Yeah, man.
Like, please understand this story. It's super important.
Hey, you know what? Actually, I want to call out. So in the chat. So first, Marcus said this is his best 30 minutes ish of the week. So thanks, Marcus.
Aw.
And then Christopher, I believe Christopher puts this in the chat when we were talking about when we were getting a little excited, right, about our story. So he brought us back down to earth a little bit. He said, yes, but is it easy for us admins to configure and maintain? And I think that's a fair question slash criticism.
Unfortunately, no. I always say you're like on the journey to great, right? Like you're on the journey to amazing. And we always said, are you like the okay, good, whatever it is? No, there's still too many consoles you have to configure this stuff in. Some of it's through automation, not a UI. The capabilities are there, but the administrative interface is still not cohesive.
Well, and
That's very fair.
I'll share a little bit of internal conversation that we had on my team in St. Louis just maybe a couple weeks ago. Someone on my team posted to our team's channel. It was a portal aggregator list, and basically it was like links to all the various portals that we have.
And I've said to people, it's like, welcome to the Office 365 Compliance Club. Here's my secret handshake of portals that you're going to need to go to your configurations with.
And it was a lot of portals.
It's quite a few. No, that's a very fair criticism. They are continuing to rationalize that. That is an emphasis point for it. I think the security domain's been so fluid. They've had just challenges with keeping up with features and UI acceptance testing, globalization. There's challenges to UIs, right? There's a reason the Exchange UI is finally getting an upgrade right now, because that thing was it was what it was and everybody understood it. So no, that's fair. I got excited about capabilities, but if you're the admin, you're still in the you're not the first target customer
for UX. Yeah.
No, and I guilty. I think we've all been. I had a boss one time when I was complaining about that. When I was back in consulting, he says, "That's what keeps you gainfully employed, Doug." I'm like,
I was going to say that too,
but I would like to do higher order things. I would like to do higher order things than chase admin consoles, and that's the point behind all these things. I do think you're seeing that improve, and there's an awareness the work needs to be done there. So fair. So way to bring us back. Like, that's fair. The balloon should not go off into the atmosphere. It's fair. All right. Well, as I transition to talk about my stuff, one thing I did retweet last week. Somebody was kind enough to send me the licensing thing from the show, so I just retweeted it and said, "Huzzah!" Like, I don't have to do any work. So Viva does have additional licensor charges. There's one, I think, the topics component and talent. So in order to demystify this whole thing, though, I reached out to our occasional guest Steve Nguyen this week, who's the Yammer product marketing manager, essentially the community side of it. He's going to come on our show either next week or the week after, and he's going to unpack. He's going to unpack Viva for us. And so I thought that would be spectacular of him. So I connected with him and I was like, "Hey man, like I would like to know this from that community employee engagement." And I don't know any better. I mean, Steve done this for large corporations. He's been at Microsoft a while. He was a community evangelist. Then he went into product engineering. Like, he's the epitome of, I did it myself, I helped other people do it, and then I went to the product that does it. Like, that's his journey. And so he understands that thing from all sides. He's amazing. And so he's going to come on the next couple weeks and walk us through that from impact and alignment statements. That should be cool.
Great.
Okay, so one thing I want to give people a heads up on, we announced an upcoming commercial preview of the Office LTSC, right? Do we all know what the long-term servicing channel stands for, right? Essentially, there's a new version of Office coming, and you should go refresh yourself as to the enterprise apps for Office, the Office enterprise applications, Office Pro Plus, whatever your historical name for them is that triggers your thing. You're going to see the fixed lifecycle policy and all the rest of the stuff. So my point is this, and if you see right now, and then they take all these Office this, Office that, and they're like Office 2021 for consumers and small businesses. That'd be the one-time purchase stuff, right? Like the still SKU-oriented version of Office that exists in the marketplace, as opposed to the subscription-oriented one that exists out there. So I just think it's worth understanding the ring control. So I might go surface that and unpack it one of these weeks if we have a slow news week, and just grind people back through their management and ring control around Windows and Office and refresh that content if people think it'd be useful. At least I'll surface the articles back into our content for it. But it isn't important now that we're heading into it. So Jared Spataro announced this, hey look, right, we're heading on top of that. One of the things embedded in here is the updated in this link, which, so don't just ignore it, because if you have on-prem Exchange, SharePoint, or Skype for Business Server, the update for content for those on-prem server commitments for hybrid entitlements are in this link as well. So
Okay.
this one's got a lot to unpack in it, right? There's the Office one, there's the server entitlement stuff. So they sort of wrapped it all up into this perpetual release of Office, which takes you into the whole, hey, what's happening with Exchange Server? Because we still have that, right? There's a lot of people who
Right.
run it for legit reasons.
Sure.
And so I just want to let you know, like our commitment to those hybrid and the servicing entitlements, this is all wrapped up in there. Office is the shiny thing in here, but there's some other stuff buried in this post that I think is worth it if you are a hybrid environment running traditional servers for anything. And we still have some people who have IP enclave requirements where they just can't put things in cloud, like the indexes can't be there, whatever it is. So there's legit reasons for some of these things to be where they
absolutely.
are. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I just wanted to call that one out as a post worth doing on top of it. All right.
Okay.
Next up was they announced 2 new Power Apps that fit into Teams. Did you see these things? They're the templates. They're the app templates, but they had the bulletins release. On top of it, which lets your team stay on top of things, for critical announcements. So you get this sort of bulletin broadcast kind of capability. And the other one is milestones. I kind of don't know.
Oh, I did see this one.
I don't know how to unpack milestones in compared to Planner to do in all the rest of the stuff. Like I haven't rationalized this one in my head. So it says, hey, you have 360 view of the project. It's extensible. So I went out to deploy it. It is based on CDS. So I did unpack that much of it. And so I was like, this could be, because like for me, the planner inside of my group, inside of my team, we have sort of a portfolio of things we're working on. My boss wants to know, are they blocked, not blocked? Like, where are we, right? And then there's how we orchestrate the work as a small team. And we may have a planner for that and do our own buckets and all sorts of stuff, right? And then I have like this automation layer. I started from the SharePoint list, the project tracker list, extended it and built it out for my team as a citizen developer. So we have Power BI reports and linkages in order to do some of what's built into this. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, where would I go with that? If I had like the SharePoint project tracker list, would I do this instead? I just haven't figured it out in my head yet as to what to use when. But I love the idea of this, and I'm trying to figure out, would I prefer that kind of thing to be in CDS or in a SharePoint list? Do I really care?
To me, I think this to me immediately, again, I'm in the same bucket as you. I haven't rationalized this. This feels like something more broad communication, right? Whereas Planner is like the thing I use to manage the work.
Yeah, but then
this is the way to communicate the work.
If you think about the SharePoint Jumpstart list that has this kind of template exact, metadata in it, then right. I don't know where to go with that. It's CDS versus SharePoint lists in a battle royale. You get eventing off of both of them. You don't have scale limits off of CDS. You get more of a unified business object. So I'm trying to figure that out in my head as to what would be the guiding principles. I think I have some, stirring, but I think you should check it out and start thinking about, as more of these things come out, these app templates, and they have either pre-canned functionality overlaps maybe with something you've done rather bespoke, are you going to jump to embrace an out-of-the-box solution framework, or are you going to continue your own way? I'm debating.
To me, there's no reason and granted this would take some effort, right? That there couldn't be, it's not an either or, it's a both and, right? It's how do I integrate? How do I?
Yeah, I just don't. For me, I would shut down one of my tools with this if I chose to go with this.
Makes sense.
I would leave the rest of it, but I would do that. But
that's a good topic. I think this tells me. I think both of us maybe need to put some more.
Yeah, I got to unpack these Teams templates with CDS that deploy these pre-canned business logic versus things I used to haul up my erector set and build myself. I got to unpack that. I haven't.
Well, and so we've got some chat going on here. Michelle, Christopher, and Brian are all. Brian says Dataverse versus SharePoint list SmackDown. Michelle says, does it go from program management to task management complexity of project milestones planner than to do? I think that's a reasonable hierarchy, right, of complexity.
Yeah, I just said sit in front of. I gotta sit in front of a whiteboard and look at technical capabilities and business functionality and governance and control and sort of make a rationalization of these things.
You know what?
Right?
I love that. That's like maybe we should do that just for fun. And Christopher says, does milestones connect to Planner in some way? My only thought would be yes, through like Power Automate.
Yeah. Mind the gap. There's a GUI and API Power something. So I don't know. Like I haven't unpacked this one, but I was like, ooh, shiny, and I was like, but I already do a lot of this stuff.
That's a good exercise. We should do that.
Okay.
We should do that little extra.
Well, maybe we'll just do that live on a show and see what people think.
Maybe that's the happy hour idea.
The happy hour is the cocktail napkin of common data services versus SharePoint lists and constructors as a SmackDown.
Maybe like
fair.
We now have like every like maybe once a month on Friday we get together at like 11 p.m. Central.
All right, fair.
With our cocktails.
I gotta move. I got like 2 more things I think that are important on top of it. I'll skip the to do for iOS got widgets on top of it at last.
Yes.
I was expecting they were there and they weren't, and I was super sad. Now they're there. The real one I want to go, and I think it's worth going 1 minute over.
This is so cool. This is so cool.
So if you were around for a while, there's all the audio codecs in the land. And Microsoft, had done chat over Xbox, has a tremendous amount of IP around audio codecs over weird bandwidth because of gamer chat, right? And we've had that forever and ever and ever and ever. And then we went down this road of having our own proprietary codec. For those of you who are around, we had Silk, and you could license Silk, and there was IP around it. And Silk was really good at low bandwidth. I used to do shootouts because I own a unified communications consulting company with some other people, and we would do low bandwidth shootouts like over via phones or whatever it is, where they had like the VPN overheads and hardware devices and all the rest of the stuff, and you couldn't hear a damn thing because of how their codecs worked. And you could put at the time a OCS, Office Communication Server 2007 endpoint out there, and audio was clear. It was tinnier sounding, but you could hear everything they were saying.
Yeah.
Well, so now, essentially, and you can read the post, they've moved forward and put artificial intelligence around predictive recreation of gapped packet loss, right? So say I have a stream of audio packets, right, and I have some loss because of, whatever, because of the internet.
Because internet.
They've used AI to compute essentially a reconstruction. And you should play the audio clips to hear like the fidelity differential and then the gap coverage on top of it. When they basically, we used to have bandwidth simulators where you could crank it down, and you could do packet loss and latency to see what would happen, like a WAN simulator.
Like Chaos Monkey for audio.
Yeah. So, I mean, super fun if you love this kind of stuff, which clearly, like security, I don't know. I'm a weird critter, right? A security and audio codec.
Check out the post. Listen to the audio samples. My question to you is this deployed yet into production? Is it coming? What's the deal?
Deploying.
Like, when do I get to start using
deploying
this as a human?
Is my understanding on top of it.
Okay.
And so we're going to start leveraging Satin in order to do that stuff. So Teams engineering, blog post for the RSS feed on top of it. Satin is already being used for all Teams and Skype 2-party calls, and we'll roll out for meetings soon. So right now the codecs happens when you're point to point.
So I guess theoretically, you and I should be taking advantage of this right now on this call because we're over Skype.
Yes.
Okay.
Doug just processes that.
Theoretically.
And then we're taking this from NDI. Like, then we're scraping all the audio between Todd's and my call for NDI. We're composing screen scrapes of my desktop and Todd's, screen share from Skype through NDI, which comes out of the new tech team. We're compositing that through Open Broadcaster, converting it into a composed media stream, shipping it off to YouTube, and you all are watching it.
The first thing I'm going to do after we're done here is go back and watch the YouTube and see what we sound like.
Well, we sound just like you're hearing me now. What would you expect it to be different?
Fine, I don't know. I can't hear me.
But you can hear me. Has it been bad?
Yes, fine.
But if you want to enjoy your sound of your own voice, I know what you're doing for the next half hour. All right, we are over, and I think that.
Well, by the way, Brian affirmed in the chat that he would love to see that whiteboard session of us rationalizing the different project management tools, and I think that would be so fun. Let's do that. Let's do like a special edition.
All right.
Like
I'll even fill out the health check form. Go into the MTC. We'll get on an 84-inch Surface Hub, right? And I'll pair up with your 55-inch Surface Hub at home, and we should treat this like debate style. We each have to pick a side and defend it.
I think that would be so fun.
With the intention that we're going to try and win that argument.
Okay.
I'll take SharePoint. You want to take CDS?
Sure. Well, there's others too, but yeah, okay, fine.
No, I'm just kidding.
We'll figure it out.
It's like I want to go to my history, but that's your history too. So I was just trying to take it away from you because of the. We should invite Bart from Dynamics Fortnite Friday, and have him be the CDS person.
Crossover episode.
There it is. It's a crossover episode. And what can we get? What can we get the Dynamics guys to do?
I love this idea.
So,
Yes,
we got to
let's
have
do it.
Rick and Mark. We haven't done a giant crossover episode for all 3 shows in a long time.
Oh, bring together Azure Dynamic, like it's the cross cloud.
We just got to have Rick on there as the referee or something like that, like Rick and Mark, just in order.
He would be a good referee, Rick Weinberg. Yeah,
like
for
at
sure.
the end, because he doesn't do any of this stuff. So who can that's it. We'll ask Rick or Mark to come on, and they are the referees because they're neutral parties in this particular regard. So we'll pitch to a couple of infrastructure architects, like modern app patterns for citizen development and tooling enablement through template, self-creation, and teams, and see who wins.
It's on. You're going down.
All right. Well, that was
You're going
crazy.
down.
All right. You all have a fabulous week. We will see you next week. I still got some nerd follow-ups I got to take care of, but I think I took care of most of them. And we'll stay on track. Thanks for the time, everyone.
Wonderful. All right. Have a good weekend.